basically, I live in Los Angeles, and I have a kind of I live with my girlfriend. I have what's called a Spanish bungalow from the 1920s, and I have this beautiful patio, the covered patio, and I sit out there, and mostly that's when I'm writing, is sitting out on this covered patio, looking out into my garden, or I'm in my office when it's cold, as it is a little bit today. Um, and it's just, it's got my objects around me, photographs of my family and when I was a kid, things that I'm kind of obsessed with my childhood and growing up in California, growing up in Los Angeles. So I've got the furniture in the house and the things in my room that kind of remind me, ground me in my early years, that kind of stuff. Well, in the book, I talk about everybody has to go through an apprenticeship, and that's what makes or breaks you in life. Usually, it's in your 20s, um, and that's when you learn how to deal with people, how to overcome your own weaknesses, how to be develop skills in what you're doing. And so, for a writer, your apprenticeship is like living, is going out and having different experiences and seeing the world, or having as wide a range of experience as possible. And so, as part of that, on one hand, I counted with my girlfriend over 80 different jobs. I never stayed at one job for more than 8, 9, 10 months at a time. And this is ranging from journalism to construction to working at a detective agency to being in Hollywood. And part of that was roaming around Europe. I worked in a hotel as a receptionist in Paris. I taught English in Barcelona. I washed dishes in Greece. I worked at a television company in London. And all of that kind of those experiences were very much part of the 48 Laws of Power in my first book, in which everything I learned about the world and people and the power dynamic, if I didn't have that life experience and living in Europe and all these different places, I don't think the book would have, I don't know if it would have ever happened. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but I think you can say there's no kind of books out there like my books. I was just thinking today, I never get like a normal review in a newspaper or a magazine. So I've never had a normal New York Times review or anything remotely similar to it for any. And I've written 5 books, and they've all been bestsellers. The first book sold well over 1 million copies, and it's because I don't fit in, I think, to the classic paradigm. These are self-help books, clearly, in which I'm talking directly to the reader, and I'm saying, this is how your life could be. I'm trying to talk to you personally. At the same time, I'm dealing with a lot of history and a lot of ideas about the world and about what it means to be a human being. And I'm telling stories, narrating the stories of Leonardo da Vinci or whomever it is. It doesn't fit into any category, so people don't know what to do with me. Uh, and I think, for better or worse, that's what sets me apart uh, from them. And it means I never will have a legitimate New York Times review, but I do have lots of readers, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah, no, I think you're onto something very interesting. But what happens, I think, with particularly journalists, I think journalists, by their nature, it's a business. Um, I don't mean to mince words. They can be very manipulative. They interview you. They're very friendly. They're very nice. They're very intelligent, and then they go and they write an article in which you're made to be like a caricature of yourself. Um, and that's manipulative. It's a power ploy. I've been a journalist. I was a journalist for several years in New York. I know the game. So they don't like a book that's sort of talking about that. It touches a nerve with them. Huh? Yeah. They're constantly concealing their intentions, which is, law number 3. in the book. I could list other laws that they're using all the time. I've been on television shows where like the O'Reilly factor, where he's used these different laws of power. They don't want to think of themselves like that. They want to think like they're a journalist, they're a writer, they're trying to support some cause or whatever. But no, they're in a business, and they're using a lot of these laws of power, and it makes them uncomfortable. So I'm their whipping boy in many ways. I'm the person you can trot out of Machiavelli and books that are read by prisoners, and they'll choose the one law out of there that's probably the most overt of them all, and they'll pull it out of context. That gets them. I'm used to sell a story. That fine. I get a little tired of it, but the truth is there's a much more interesting story there if someone wanted to interview me about the ideas in the book, about where the world's heading, about what's happening in America right now. And they're not talking about it. They're wanting to talk about other things. So, you know. When it comes to the other thing is they don't know where to put mastery in relation to the 48 laws of power. So I get the question a lot is, have you mellowed? Are you no longer supporting the things in the 48 laws of power? Well, there's a chapter in Mastery called Social Intelligence, about see people as they are. Um, and it's saying that if you're going to master something, you still have to be very socially adept. You have to understand what people are like. And it's a chapter that's very much like the 48 Laws of Power, which I'm trying to show that to be a master, you have to be emotionally, socially intelligent, not just intellectually intelligent. But still, they're not able to fit this new book into the old book, and that's part of the confusion. So they just rely on talking about the 48 Laws of Power, which is fine. No, well, we have several projects, possibly with turning some of my books into television material and movie material. I can't really talk about that right now. Um, and then I have another book project to come. I'm looking into the idea of taking that chapter that I just mentioned on social intelligence and going extremely deep into that, in which I'm going to explain to you human nature. I'm going to unveil to you all of the good and bad sides of human nature and how to read people and how to understand them. Sort of like giving you a code book on how to decode all of that behavior that seems so puzzling to you in your work world or dealing with other people. Here, this is these are the elements of human nature. That's sort of the book that I'm cooking up. Well, it's good and it's bad. The good thing is I've got money, I'm successful, all that works in my favor. The other thing that doesn't work in my favor, though, is the art of seduction, and the 48 Laws of Power, because I'm continuously scrutinized as if I can never be sincere. Everything I do, including brushing my teeth, has some power motive behind it. So if I'm not calling back, it could be that my cell phone died. Oh no, it's a seduction play. It's a power game he's playing. So the good side is, I have that aura that is very much helpful, and I talk about that in the art of seduction. On the other hand, I've got this sort of mud that's stuck to me that I have to deal with every time. So it's there's good and there's bad. Mostly good though. No, it's just that I think that in reading a book like Mastery, it gives you a way to sort of evaluate where you are right now in your life. So it's generally something that is perfect for young people who are starting out. But even if you're 30, 40 years old and you're not quite sure, things aren't perfectly working out, you need to make a reassessment of where you're going. I think it's a book that can really give you clarity about if you need to make a shift, how to shift into something that's more aligned with who you are with your inclinations, with that vocation I was talking about, because it's a world now. I believe it's an entrepreneurial world where you have to take care of yourself, and you're going to be going through several career changes. You're never going to be working at one job for 40 years anymore, like my father did. It's the kind of book that's going to help give you some clarity about the direction in life that will lead to something where you have a sense of control and you're going to master not only yourself but your field. So it's, I guess that's sort of one thing I wanted to make to point out.